Talan Gwynek, lève-toi.
Qu'est-ce qu'il fait? Pull your men back right now.
Lève-toi.
G'day evildoers, welcome to Villain Rap Sheet. Today we look at a werewolf named Talan Gwynek, who features in the 2013 film WER. I guess calling it werewolf would be too obvious, so they just took a more subtle route. Directed and written by William Brent Bell, this slasher horror movie opens with the brutal slaying of an American family in rural France, conveniently self-recorded for their family vacation library, I guess.
He was eating my boy alive.
At this point, there should be no illusion that we just witnessed a werewolf killing, and the police straight up arrest a bloke named Talan Gwynek, whom is suspiciously big and hairy.
When I say to you that Talan Gwynek, by the mere definition of the word, is a werewolf.
Oh, you don't say. From this point on, the film centres around Talan's defence lawyer and two assistants who slowly figure out that he is a werewolf. This is clearly intentional and part of the fun. The main characters, Catherine, Gavin and Eric, are so engaged in preparing a legal defence they are completely blind to the obvious werewolf hints that are made privy to the audience.
An animal did this.
Eventually, we see them finesse the legal system to allow some crude medical tests, such as inducing seizures. Combined with an upcoming full moon, the seizures trigger Talan's inner beast mode, and boom, we have ourselves a werewolf rampage. So let's fill out Talan's criminal profile. I'm going to examine his motives, and then his powers, followed by a breakdown of the crimes he has committed. Talan isn't your traditional villain. He never goes off on a long monologue and describes his evil plans. In fact, he hardly says anything at all. We learn from his mother the Gwynek family migrated from Romania to France around 50 years ago. His lycanthropy is passed down through some of the males in the family, though she describes it as a physically weakening affliction. Later in the film we learn that this was likely doublespeak when a secret basement under the Gwynek household is discovered, revealing he probably couldn't move because he was shackled to a chair. So at this point, I think it's fair to say that survival is a primary motive, in the sense that the whole Gwynek family managed to live in the area for 50 years without being exposed. It's suggested from the lawyer that the family lived peacefully in all that time, but I'm not convinced. They suppress Talan's werewolf urges at times, but in a later scene we will see in a cave system frequented by Talan and his father, human remains all about the floor. So I'd suggest rather than a peaceful existence, Talan lived a werewolf lifestyle without being discovered. We're also given a loose subplot which suggests an ulterior motive: revenge.
Well, for 50 years they lived in peace. And then something bad happened. Talan's father was killed so that you could profit from their land.
On a une carte détaillée des environs parce que j'en ai un peu le ras-le-bol en fou.
See, Talan's father died suspiciously within the last year. Apparently the Gwynek family is on valuable land, and there is a conspiracy that local powers seek to remove them. Talan apparently spent most of his time with his father, so it's quite possible that he was the glue holding the Talan family together. So when his father was killed, the paws came out. Sticking to common werewolf lore, Talan's powers are linked to the full moon. However, we see his powers can be summoned while flashing a seizure-inducing light into his eyes. In this scene we see Talan get super strength as he tosses bodies around like rag dolls. Following his escape from hospital, Talan is found on the 8th floor of a building, only this time it's a full moon. We're given a look at his werewolf transformation, which isn't overly dramatic. He doesn't turn into a dog, get a tail, snout or any of that stuff. In the ensuing fight we can see Talan has not just super strength, but speed. Furthermore, he seems to take a few bullets, which does little to deter him. His impressive durability is emphasised when he escapes by leaping from the 8th floor. Is this guy a cat or dog? It must be said he isn't completely unstoppable. Enough bullets will put him down. Foolishly, They put Talan's body into an ambulance, and we will see that normal bullets aren't enough. He can either resurrect or has super healing, because he causes the ambulance to crash, gets out, then runs away, and this is one of my favourite scenes. He doesn't need to look like a wolf to run like one, and we hear from his pursuers that he reached around 60 to 70 miles per hour.
60, 70 miles an hour. I mean, I couldn't catch him. I couldn't catch up with him. They shot him like 10 times, and he didn't die. He didn't die, Kate. What does that mean?
Means you should have stayed in that car, buddy. Okay, let's break down his crimes. In his first act of violence, he kills a family's pet dog. It's usually a charge using the words cruelty or abuse towards animals. Of the family, Henry is slain by having his jaw and tongue eaten, as well as his thigh chewed like a drumstick. The child Peter was completely eviscerated while the mother survived, only to die later from septic shock. While in police custody during a small scuffle, Talan takes a little nibble from Gavin's arm. It looks intentional, and passing on certain diseases intentionally is a crime in many places. When Talan is strapped down in a medical theatre and given a werewolf summoning seizure, he freaks out and takes out a total of 2 doctors and 2 guards, mainly by throwing their bodies around like toys. On his way out, Talan bounces one guard, who probably survives, making it aggravated assault. And of course there's an escaping custody charge there as well. The following fight scene sees Talan surrounded by GIPN officers, who are basically French SWAT. In the ensuing fight scenes, Talan fights more intentionally, striking with his fists, biting necks and jaws, and applying some advanced yoga techniques. In total, he kills 8 GIPN officers and racks up a destruction of property charge by flinging a corpse onto a police van. The next sequence of fights lead law enforcement to Talan's house and surrounding caves. Once again, nameless police are the victims. This time, his kills are very stealthy in nature. After ganking 4 officers, it looks like he's about to incur a hostage-taking charge, but he never makes any demands, so I guess it's just regular murder. During Talan's ambulance ride, we don't see what happens inside. That causes the crash. An educated guess would be some werewolf shit went down. Since it's not clear whether the driver survived and we just see the body of one paramedic at the back, I think this is just another potential aggravated assault charge. Talan's final kill is rather graphic. It involves Eric, who was part of the defense team. Giving 0 Fs to Eric's pleas, Talan mercilessly rips off his jaw. And that's 3 jaw kills.
Talan, no. Talan, no.
Before a final werewolf showdown between a hairy werewolf and a shaved werewolf, Talan gets personal with his lawyer, Catherine. And yes, that's sexual battery, assuming she wants to press charges. All up, that's 20 definitive murder charges. Now, after I counted out the death toll, the film concludes with a montage of news reports.
Now responsible for killing more than 40 people,
including 24 law enforcement officers, his own mother.
That's freaking fake news, because they attributed Gavin, the shaved werewolf's kills, to Talan. So after all this, he really does need some lawyers. So what can we learn from the case of Talan Gwynek? First, if afflicted, you can partially deny your inner werewolf just by shaving. Secondly, we learn that sometimes human rights lawyers can cause nothing but death and misery, and perhaps sometimes pitchfork justice is the way to go. WER is an enjoyable take on what a werewolf could be. We get to see an animalistic killing machine, so if you enjoyed this profile of Talan, please support the film creators. And that's it. Please take care everyone.